you also have this thing. It's almost like a chameleon-like ability to change direction. We've just been talking about Major Lazer, but of course you've had 3 other major collaborations with LSD, with Sia, with Jack U, with Skrillex, with Silk City, with Mark. So take us through the thought process of that and how, you know, is that come from one session and it's like, let's make this a thing, or do you go into those things thinking? I mean, Jack U, just talk about that one first.
I guess all are different ideas. You know, they all come together in a different way. I think Major Lazer just became organic because I wanted to make something. I had a vision for the project with the character and everything, and Switch really helped me bring it to life. And then we just had great friends, so like that was easy to do. It was like it's like a family. Everybody recorded with us was like we did it all like in a bedroom. You know, I remember recording like on iPhones back then and stuff like that with no mic and everything. Because you can do whatever you want. Switch can make it sound good. Actually, it was the crazy thing. With Jack U, I think, you know, I was really into the LA scene. I just knew that Skrillex was like just a
When did you first meet him, or how did you first?
Just in LA, man. He was like the rock star. Like he was like the first real rock star of dance music. Before that, everybody's like cool and their DJs and this, but Skrillex was like fucking like crazy haircut, rocking. The music was obnoxious, didn't give a fuck about anything.
From the guitar world.
Like he really was like a rock star. So I was like, damn, there's like this is big. He was winning Grammys already. He was already like, he brought dubstep to the masses and had like these insane shows and really spoke to a generation. You know, like before that, dance music was still kind of tame.
Yeah.
And he came with like, fuck everybody. I mean, England probably hated him back then because there was
really he was polarizing because he was down with scream and bang.
That's the best word, because the fact that he was polarizing made me feel like that's it.
Yeah.
If you're not polarizing, I feel like you're not really doing it right.
Yeah, and it was the first person to come from the US with you know, so I think the snobs like, you know,
people don't realize that he came from like Noisia was like his teachers. Like he came from the real deal, like drum bass dubstep guys.
Yeah.
And he really knew what he was fucking doing, and he had the musicianship. So I just was like, let's do some collabs. We never had a reason. I think when I started working in the pop world, I had all these ideas and these songs, like Where Are You Now was a song that we already had. Like it was a demo that Scooter gave me. And I don't think Sonny would have done that on his own because it's just too absurd.
Yeah.
And when we did that record, well, To Take You There was the first one we did. We just did that late night in Ibiza. We were together in Kaiser. We found her. We recorded it in a hotel room and made that song really quickly. But with Where Are You Now, I just realized like if I have the power of like Skrillex as like the genius, and we have some pop aspects, which I'm really good at. I'm good at like kind of like songwriting and finding arrangements for pop records. We could do this and make a really big impact. And like I said, it was polarizing. When that record came out, the fucking comments were like, you ruined music, you ruined Skrillex.
Well, bringing Bieber into
it was like really, and Bieber was at his like a low point where people weren't into him either because he had just had a lot of problems and he was growing up and it was like, you know, he had tried to enter a new phase of his life. So I thought all those things make a great story. So I feel like we built that record together. And I remember being in Ibiza like after that record came out, and there's like a radio show happening on the radio, and it was like one of those vote on the record if it's hot or not. There was that song versus another random dance song, and the calls were coming in like, that fucking song sucks. But why do you play that pop shit on the radio? And I was like, all right, whatever. And then, you know, 3 months later it started charting because, you know, the dance crowd didn't like it, but fuck them, who gives a shit? Young people were like 11, 12, 14, 15, they were like, this song's rad.
Yeah.
That's super weird. So we leaned into that. And eventually all the snobs were like, oh, it's not that bad. So, you know, really make music, like I said, that's great. Hopefully it's polarizing. Hopefully it's experimental, and then fuck all the snobs because you're going to find an audience that is great.
I think Radio 1 you've always had a big affiliation with the UK, and particularly with BBC Radio 1. So I think they've always kind of supported you in that.
I also think that they were older. They're not snobby. They're kind of like, they're like, oh, let's give every record a chance, you know? And you also, with your, you know, with your show on the weekends, like if you always like, you're the new music guy.
Yeah.
So like BBC always is like, let's play new music. Yeah. That's the cool thing about English radio. American radio is like, let's wait till the music's big, then we'll play it.
Yeah.
So you have that aggressive idea, like, oh, let's break new music.
Yeah.
And I think English radio has always been like, let's break new music. And that's where we had to go there. Even Major Lazer, Lean On wasn't a record happening either. It was charting in Australia. Some radio DJs were playing it on
Triple J.
Triple J was playing it. So like they took a chance on it, and then it got really big there. Then France started playing it, and then UK started playing it, and then after like 8 months, American radio started playing it.
Yeah.
So that's how long it takes for a record to break. And then now working in country music, that's even longer.
Right.
Records take like 8 months to reach the charting moments.
Yeah.
But
So you did that with Skrillex, with Justin Bieber, and then you do it again with Silk City. What was the thinking?
well, Mark was one of my old friends, man. Like coming from
Because he's talking about open format DJ
yeah.
as well.
So Mark is like, when I first started DJing in Philadelphia, Mark was like the king.
Yeah.
You know, it was him and Stretch Armstrong and like Rich Medina. If you go to a party in New York or Philly and you're gonna hear Mark play Amy Winehouse, AC/DC, hip hop records, and he's just mixing everything up, and he's like it's like the most tasteful DJ in the world.
Yeah.
I always go to those parties, and I was like a little more younger and chaotic, but I was always like, damn, Mark's fucking good. Like he's a good DJ, and then he's obviously a great producer.
Yeah.
And we always talked about doing something. We wanted to make like a psychedelic record. We were like really into like the Tame Impala sound, but then we realized like that's not gonna work for us. And we started making house music, like kind of this New York minimal kind
It
of.
was kind of Philly international a little bit, which is
Yeah.
you know.
The first record was called it was with Daniel Merriweather. Fuck. What was the first Silk City record, Eric? As a vocal, Daniel Merriweather on loop before Electricity. Guys, open Spotify.
Yeah.
Better when you get better.
Yeah. Only Can Get Better.
Yeah.
So it was like a loop record. It was like a French touch kind of record. And we were like, people just liked our name. So we got little gigs and we started playing this kind of like minimal New York house thing. And then, like I said, we found a language with that, and it ended up becoming what Electricity was, like a perfect version of like Chicago house meets vocal house with a pop artist. At the time, Dua Lipa was still not that huge.
Yeah.
And that's the best time to work with an artist because they're hungry. The audience is like, wants to see what they can do. They're not confined to a genre. So it was like her first real house record. And yeah, it's all about like I said, that's the A&Ring in my head. Like, you know,
We called her.
yeah, I'd already done a record. I hit her on, I just like cold DM'd her on Twitter.
Yeah.
Hey, I like your music, when she was like kind of unknown. And then we had done a record together already with Major Lazer called, with Major Lazer and Wiz, not Wiz Sleep, it was with, it was with Wiz, the African dude. What's the Dua Lipa song I did? Major Lazer, Dua Lipa.
So many records.
Hold on.
Okay.
My love.
Yeah, no, yeah. Wale,
Right.
Dua Lipa. It was the African guy.
Wizkid.
Yes, I did it right. So Wiz.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Wizkid, yeah.
I'd already hit her up. I did a song with Dua Lipa, Wizkid, and Wale. That was like a Major Lazer collab. And so she already, you know, knew what I was doing. And then we got her in for that song. And then, yeah, we had like the idea for it. And the project, the language is kind of made of how it would sound.
Would you? I mean, you've stopped that though, Silk City. Would you go back and do?
We
that?
did a record. We had a huge record with Teddy Swims actually.
Yeah,
that we just. What happened is that Mark, he always goes through waves. So when Mark's busy, he's busy. And then you know, after Silk City, he did the Miley project.
Yeah.
Then we started working on music again, and then Mark got the F1 soundtrack. So he's doing that, and Mark's doing a book.
Yeah.
So
Let's finish the book.
yeah. So I'm trying to.
Yeah.
When Mark's busy and he had a baby.
Yeah.
It's like those three things you're not going to work on Silk City. We tried mixing it up, but we couldn't get it done in time. So now Mark's on his, you know, I have to find ways to like, right now I'm trying to finish the LSD album, and it's like getting Labyrinth and Sia schedule and making me fit in there is really hard too. So it's like, back in the day, we just went to people's houses and made records. Now it's like, everybody's a big ass.
They're probably trying to get hold of you. Because you sound pretty busy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm busy too, but I had like a lot of time. We spent like the first 3 months of the year, I did a lot of work on LSD, and it's insane, like really fucking sick record. But Labyrinth is at the point where he knows like this record, we had the first album was kind of done in an easy way, and it was really big for us.
Yeah.
That this one, because of how big Labyrinth and Sia is, it's got to be a fucking like game-changing album. So it's gonna probably take another year, but it's gonna be a really, really impressive record, I hope.